Hi everybody, this is Oksana. Today we're going to do this simple little wrap, or I shouldn't say simple, I mean it's not like super duper easy, but simple in the way that it looks, like it doesn't have a lot going on. There's just a frame around the stone, and then you have these two little crisscrosses here in this little V shape, and it's pretty simple from the back as well. You just have this coming down. There's not a lot of wires going on at all. So if you like this kind of frame design with the crisscrosses, then stay tuned, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how I made it. So the stone I'm going to be using here is a little oval, and it's a little bit over an inch. It's about 30 millimeters, which is about a little bit less than 1.25 inches. And I think this is an Azurite. Maybe Chrysocolla Azurite. And then I'm using some 20 gauge wire, square, dead soft copper, just one piece. And mine is 11 inches. And here's what the spool looks like. RioGrande.com is where I get my wire from. And so you want to take that one piece and kind of bend it to determine the middle of it. And then here in the middle, just gonna grab, and we're gonna make a nice little angle there, like that. And then we're gonna take our stone, and you wanna lay it down flat on like a table or something. Obviously I can't do that here in the air, so I'm just gonna have to hold it. But as I hold it, I'm bending my wire around my stone so that I can get a frame that is the shape of my stone. And so once you do that, what you want to do is you want to get in here and make some bends with your pliers so that the wires come together nicely at the top so that you can have a bail. So let me just recheck my stone now that I've done that. All right, so we are gonna wrap some half round wire around the bail like we normally do, but before we do that, I'm gonna show you a hammering option that will help make this frame stronger if you happen to have a chasing hammer and an iron block. All right, so this is a really old and gross iron block. It's really heavy. I got it from Michael's, I believe, just ages ago, and obviously it's very used. And then this is a chasing hammer. It's got a flat side and a rounded side, and I got it from eBay. So what you want to do to strengthen the frame is just, you're going to put this down on the ground, but I'm holding it in the air just for demonstration, is you're going to hammer your frame. And I'm trying not to, hammer hard so it's not really loud here for you guys, but off camera, I'm gonna do exactly as I'm doing, just like this. I'm just gonna hammer it, but I'm gonna hit a little harder so that the frame becomes stronger, and it's also gonna look just a little bit flatter. The wire is gonna get a little bit flatter. All right. So now it's a little bit flatter. It's got a little bit of texture as well from the hammer. And what you want to do is make your bail now with some 22 gauge half round copper. So I'm just gonna grab an end here. It's still connected to my spool. And I start out with a little wire end, and I start out by just wrapping that around a few times. And then you just want to trim your wire. Wherever you trim it, that's going to be the back. So if I actually want this to be the back, so I'm going to trim it here so that my wire end is here in the back. And then I'm just going to press that wire end down All right, so that's how we get started. And then the rest of the way, because the wire is connected to the spool, I'm gonna guide it with my right hand. That is already all dirty from the tarnish from the wire. And then with my left hand, I'm just turning the piece. And this guides the wire around it and prevents it from getting twisted. And we're gonna do this for actually quite a while. So you might be thinking, wow, what a tall bale I'm making. But actually, you need this to be quite tall. I might need it to be even longer. So I'm just squishing everything down with my pliers. I'm not cutting off the wire yet because it might need to be longer. So this is my front. To see how much longer it needs to be, we need to actually bend the bale. So here in the front, I just kind of bent my wire so that I can shape it into the shape of the bale. Oh yeah, it needs to be quite a bit longer there. So if you take your stone and you put that in, you can see this reaches just the top of the stone, but we actually want it to reach further down to the bottom. So if you flip over to the back, you can see it just barely reaches the top of the stone. So I'm gonna do it for a little bit longer until I get further down, about midway. So now I got it about midway, so I can take my stone out, and you want the little wire end to tuck in here. So you want it to be where the stone is gonna touch. So here on this end that we can see through the frame. So we're just gonna squish all of this down. And now, let me squish it a little better. There we go. And now we're gonna separate these two wires like that. And you want to make sure at this point that it's nice and centered. It's not like over to one side versus the other side. And you want to bend them while you have it nice and centered there. You want to bend the wire towards the front, just like that. So then we can pop our stone in there. Just kind of put it in the frame up against those back wires. And here on the front, these wires that are coming from the back that we've bent, we are going to bend them a little bit down, and we're going to crisscross them like this. And what you want to do is cut those wires in such a way that you have a pretty decent sized little end piece there. Actually, it's a little bit uneven. Let me fix that up. Because we are going to come over to the back, and you can see those little wire ends there. We're going to grab them and we're going to wrap them around this frame and then just kind of close up that loop. Let me zoom in here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So that's the one end, and then the other end, I'm just grabbing it. I'm turning it with my pliers inwards, and I'm just pressing it down, 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 and it basically forms a loop. And here from the front, if it looks uneven, that's your chance to just kind of adjust it so that it does look even. So this is why it was important for this to come pretty far down, because if you look at your oval, the widest part of the oval is somewhere here in the middle, and then here where our wires are kind of going around it, it gets narrower. So this portion here is more narrow than over here. So this little kind of window that the stone is peeking out of down here, because our wires are surrounding a narrower part of the stone, this thicker part, it can't pop through. If you were to do this up here, then the stone's going to slip out the bottom. It's going to come out of this hole here where our stone is peeking out, but our stone isn't going to do that. So that's why it was important to come down far enough. Here's what it looks like from the front. So we're just going to add a few more details now. So I'm just grabbing another piece of that 20 gauge wire, and this piece is only 7 inches long. So once you get to the middle of this piece, you're going to make an angular bend, and it's up to you if you want to hammer this to reinforce it and make it a little stronger. That always helps, but you don't have to. And the way that this little angular bit is going to sit is it's going to sit like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wire ends and we're going to put one end in each of these little like windows here, like this, and we're going to slide that down. And then once you get this little end sticking up here and it is the length that you want, because maybe someone wants just a short one, maybe someone likes for it to be long in terms of like how far down it comes onto the stone, you're going to bend it. So here is mine, and it's bent. Mine's like a medium, I would say. So let me zoom in a little bit. Here's what that looks like. And from the back. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold this down so it doesn't move, and we're gonna bring these wires, I'm gonna kind of bend them towards the front, like this. And you can use your pliers to help you, because we want the bend to be really, like, almost like squish it around this wire here. Like that. So just like a really tight bend. All right. So once you've got that tight bend, you want these wires. Sorry, I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. You might have to play around with it just a tiny bit to get everything nice and centered. So like this little angular point that we made, so that it doesn't get discombobulated or like move out of place or anything, so that it stays centered. So what you want to do is you want these wires to eventually just kind of go up and crisscross here at the top, like that. But you just don't want to mess up this little point, this nice little point that you've made. All right, because it slides around. So once you do that, I'm just going to press down on that. We're going to bend them to the back. Keep holding your little point because it can move around. So we're going to bend them to the back so it looks like this. And here on the back, we're going to allow them to crisscross again. Just make sure it's even. There we go. And so now, see how they're crisscrossing in the back, but they're kind of, you can grab them here in the front. And I'm just gonna cut it and leave myself a little wire end, because I'm gonna tuck that into that little gap, that little hole in the frame. And I'm just gonna pinch that shut so it's going underneath there. And I'm just kind of squishing that down. So that's this wire. So the other wire, let me just fix it. They were crisscrossing so nicely, but now they kind of moved out of place. So my other wire is here on the other side, and I'm just gonna trim that and grab that little wire end and tuck it into that tiny little triangular shaped window there on the front. A little tricky because it's a really small little gap. So just right in there, and I'm just gonna squish that. There we go. Squish that down in there. So now you can just play around with it a little bit to get it to be nice and even. To make this little crisscross nice and even. This basically kind of holds this bail portion up here. Wraps around it. All right, so once you've kind of played around with that and made it symmetrical, now you just want to check this little point, make sure that that is still nice and symmetrical and hasn't lost its shape. And then that's it. This is a pretty simple pendant with just the two crisscrosses and then this little triangular point there. And here's what it looks like from the back. And the stone should be pretty secure. It's not gonna slip through there, and this is holding it, you know, still enough. It can't come out the sides, so the stone should be pretty secure. But this is just like kind of a minimal wrap there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.